So, good afternoon, good evening, good morning to all of you, and welcome to another in the series of IPRA Thought Leadership webinars. Today's webinar is quite special because we have four speakers. It's been moderated by our board member and chair of the Climate Change chapter, Daniel Silberhorn. In the middle section, we're going to be hearing from three of the finalists from last year's Golden World Awards for Excellence in the category of climate change. And that will be hearing from Carl Heckler, who is with BCW in South Africa, Lauren Perry from Slice Brand in the US, and Patricia Cavada, who is from the agency LLYC and based in Madrid in Spain. They'll be telling us a little bit about their rather excellent campaigns from the GWA 2022. So, Daniel, I'm going to hand over to you now and call up a set of slides that you wanted, and I'll be running the slides for you.
Yes, wonderful. Very warm welcome from my side as well, especially to Patricia, Carl, and Lauren. It's great to have you here because there's a job to do out there. It's about communication and it's about inspiring other people, and that's what we set out to do. I mean, as you know, those who are following the climate change agenda a bit closer, there's recently been, as introductory words, the sixth assessment report by the IPCC, also known as the World Climate Council, the best scientific body producing evidence, recommendations for climate action. And there's been this synthesis report just recently, and which is the latest one and final one in a longer series, which is on the next slide. You should see here the range of reports that has been done since 2021, really looking at all the aspects of climate change, physical evidence, what is going on there, what is changing, and on the chemical, physical level, all the science behind that. Then reports about the impact, then reports about how you actually mitigate that. And along these longer running series, there's always been special reports on specific aspects over the past few years. And that's really the strongest and most clear body of evidence that we have out there. Next. And of course, the synthesis report, I mean, you all know that, we all know that. It has come with a strong warning. It has been found that climate change is progressing even quicker than we were fearing so far. And also that what we do so far is clearly way not enough to tackle climate change and what is happening to us as a result of that. Yeah. And of course, we all know it's a range of effects that the climate change has on us. It ranges from increasing water scarcity, affecting our food production. It affects our health. It changes our lives in cities, settlements, infrastructure. We have to adapt there, and it affects our ecosystem, species. It's a huge range of things. Just wanted to say that as a reminder to know, again, where we are starting from. Next. And of course, we do know one thing, that the extremes have become more widespread. And the sort of aspect that we are looking at and that we can also impact on and influence a little bit is still how far we will go. As you can see in these pictures here, it makes a huge difference from plus 1.5 degrees global warming to potentially plus 4 degrees Celsius warming. And that is also really, really important for us as a humanity, because we can still influence how far we get from the left-hand side to the right-hand side. Next. Because even though it may seem really dark, you see the background here, there actually, next slide, is hope to be had. Because when we do something, and when we do it now and immediately and with all our strength, we will have the possibility to reduce and slow down the losses and the damages that might be happening. And especially what is also reassuring is because very often people think about climate action being as, oh, it's difficult to do, we have to change things, it costs something, but there's a big range of co-benefits to climate action as well. I mean, you can just think of healthier lives, of more beautiful cities to live in, safer energy, potentially we're looking at innovation, new jobs, so we can increase wealth through that. And that's a message and something that has, for many people, not been brought home yet. And of course, and that's also always being said by the IPCC, we do have, next slide, a big range of feasible and effective options with which we can reduce the climate change and GHG emissions. Next slide. Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was looking at my own slide here, and it showed the different one. So the challenge here really is we need to cut emissions, of course, really quickly, and we need to scale up our activities to really enhance resilience. And in fact, as we know, we need to cut the global GHG emissions by nearly half to 2030. And that means we have to do something on a big range of dimensions, covering all aspects of life, politics, business, financial institutions, public life, and all that. Next. And it was also identified what we can do in terms of if we get more political commitment, if we try to be more inclusive. That means talk to people, include people, make them part of the decision-making process. We need to cooperate internationally. We need to take care of our environment, the ecosystem. And of course, and that's one of the big things why we're here today as well, it's still very surprising how the degree to which there's still a lack of knowledge somewhere, not just about what is going on, but also what can actually be done in everyday life. And that's why it's part of our action at IPRA on the next slide, that we are running the Golden World Awards with a specific new category since last year, in which we look at great campaigns dealing with climate change. And with that, finally, we come to the really, really interesting people here in the virtual room. Three wonderful campaigns that we have here. Publishing Wasteless Metro Partnership from Slice Brand, which will be presented by Lauren immediately, and a very nice campaign as well from BCW Africa, Become a Cartoon Network Climate Champion, which Carl will speak about, and a very wonderful one, BR by LLYC, which Patricia will speak about. And with that, let me hand over to Lauren, and then we have the other two ones, and later a little discussion. Thank you.
Just bring up your slides, Lauren.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Daniel.
And there we go.
All right, so we'll wait for the slides to load. But as Daniel said, we submitted a campaign about our work with Wasteless. And specifically, this one really hinged on a partnership they had with Metro. So just to give a little bit of overview so we can kind of place everything we're going to talk about, Wasteless is an AI-powered solution for grocery retailers. So it's very specific, B2B, and in the end, it really helps to reduce food waste and also boost the retailer's bottom line. So there is that benefit to it that we're talking about as well. And this specific campaign, when we talk about a grocery chain in Metro, I myself am based in the US, so I did not know Metro as well, but it is a major name in Europe and specifically based in Germany. And this partnership was with one store in Poland. And we were able to take this one partnership with one specific local store in Poland and really make it a more global campaign and get coverage all over the world in the US, in Asia, in Europe, and beyond, and really talk about the issues of food waste. So if we go to the next slide. All right, so they approached us in 2021 and they really wanted to do PR. They wanted to get the word out about their business and also their mission. Their mission was really important to them, and they're a mission-driven company that had seen an issue and wanted to solve it. But they didn't have any news. They didn't have any partnerships when they came to us at first, and they were kind of looking into how do we get out there? How do we share our message? How do we tell people what we do? In the end, it is a technology. It can get complicated. And so they come from the background of technology and needed to simplify what they were talking about. And really, the goal of our partnership was to drive brand awareness for the company. But since it was doing something so impactful for climate change, it was really important for us to address the issue and also educate about the issue of food waste. So next slide. Okay. So as I mentioned in the overview, the challenge was really, this was a very small partnership. It was in one specific store that was testing the technology. So we're talking about one test in Poland, and we really wanted to make it bigger to talk about the issue, to educate about the issue. So another piece that came into play in our campaign was also really building the thought leadership behind it. So we wanted to use the CEO, other leaders from the company, and position them and share their knowledge. They knew a lot about the issues, to get them out there, get them speaking about it, publish thought leadership about it, get them on podcasts. So all of this was going to come into play. Okay. So starting off the process was really about learning and education for ourselves and making sure that we knew everything out there. We wanted to educate ourselves about the global issue of food waste and really how that impacts the climate so that we could speak to others about the topic. And also looking into the space. What else was being done? What solutions are out there? How can we talk about the larger issue to really help move the needle and impact climate change? So that retail food waste is really under discussed right now. And we wanted to make sure to really boost awareness and bring that discussion to the table, bring that discussion to a global stage. So that's where we could leave our mark. When we were designing the approach, as I said, it was a very regional story. So we needed to make it a larger environmental issue, which it is, to base the discussion there. Okay. So when we were looking at who to speak with, once we educated ourselves, it was important that we went to the mainstream, we went to the general interest outlets, as well as the niche outlets. We wanted to talk to the sustainability reporters who have a background in this, and we could talk more deeply about what Wasteless was doing, but also the grocery industry, talk to them about the problem and how to really solve the problem that was at hand. So one thing we did was we really looked into the data behind it. And I love what Daniel had said about the state of knowledge and climate change reports, because it's so important to have those reports, to have that knowledge. And that's something that we need to really boost awareness across the board. So then the secondary element was really building Odette as the CEO, and we did a range of topics. So this was talking about artificial intelligence, talking about grocery retail strategy, and a whole host of things that all come into play for this company. So then I had mentioned the reports. Data was huge. So it was really important to set the stage and give some hard numbers, some statistics about the issue. So when we talk about food waste, it's the third largest contributor of greenhouse gases and costs an average retail chain, which we assume to be 100 stores, about 900 million a year. So this is a significant problem, both for the retail chain, which is leaving a lot of money on the table, but also for the world when we're talking about the waste that goes in from the supply chain down to the cost of everything. And then in terms of the carbon footprint, we actually found that it's larger than the airline industry when we calculate everything together. So that really puts things into perspective for people. So wasteless, we could also give some figures behind that. We could look at the data of the stores and exactly how much the percentage was that they saved. So this is all very important. You can go to the next slide. Okay, so for the execution, we always really like to keep everything in one place, and we create a digital press kit. So this has text about the story, this has images, this has bios for leadership, headshots, videos, anything somebody could want to educate themselves on the issue, to educate themselves about the story. So everything hinges on these press materials that we put together. And then we had a curated list of about 40 people in this case that we wanted to go to first with the story, and everything's very customized. It's telling the story for them. If it's a mainstream reporter, if it's sustainability, it's all going to be different, and it depends on the specific relationship and person we're speaking to. So because of the names involved, because of all the red tape, at the end of the day, once we had these materials, we only had 3 days to share the news before it was public, before the embargo lifted. So very tight timeline, never ideal, not what we would want to do, but we always make the best of it. So we were able to get a special interview with Business Insider, bringing all the partners together to speak about it, and also got Engadget on board, which is a major tech site, Food Navigator, very big in the food industry. So having all of these in place when the embargo lifted, we had some really great coverage off the bat. And then it just continued because we sent to more people, we had more pitches ready. And this is a really interesting topic, and people need to know about it. So in terms of outcome, we were really able to take this very local, regional story and make it into a global campaign with hundreds of feature stories, and was in World Economic Forum. They've featured Wasteless a number of times. They talk about the issue a lot and even created their own videos. And we were also able to get them a feature in a BBC series about the impact of food. So these are all huge and really was an amazing campaign. All right, so just to give you some examples of the media coverage that came out of it, it's always great to see the headlines, and you see that some of them really focused on the partnership with Metro, others focused on Wasteless and their offering and price tags. Everybody took their own stance and was really able to get out there. We had interviews with Odette, as you can see with Cheddar on the top corner. Fast Company really dug into the technology, so it was really great to see all of this. And even today, you can continue to see coverage about this story from this campaign. So we also have the BBC documentary and World Economic Forum, Forbes. It was everywhere. Okay, and then so the other component was the thought leadership and really building up Oded as a knowledge leader in the space. So we had him on podcasts, and we also had him write articles for other publications to really share his knowledge with others and to educate them. So these are some of the podcasts. And then if you keep going, we will see some of his thought leadership articles. So he wrote pieces on NASDAQ, and it was a range of topics looking at how AI can really impact climate change, to talking about food waste itself and not from the technology side. And on the next page, it even branches, in the next slide, it branches into entrepreneurship and talking about how to build a business and really how to spark that entrepreneurial fire on Fast Company, and even in the niche grocery sites, talking about food labels and how that can really change food waste and improve the retailer's returns. So I hope that gives you a good summary of everything. Always happy to answer any questions, and we have a lot more resources if you would like to learn more, but I think it's really important, this webinar. It's great to hear about other campaigns. I can't wait to hear more about Carl and Patricia's work as well.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much, Lauren. And speaking of questions, when you have them already now, you can leave them in the chat or Q&A area later on. Yeah, thank you very much for that. It's really beautiful how that how you show how technology can be used to tackle a global issue and draw attention to this very significant one of food waste, which is very impactful. And it also shows really beautifully how you, from a very small country, place you say, you can still reach globally if you have the right story to tell. Not just one, but many stories is also something that Carl will bring us now, and I'm especially happy with that because it's always nice to meet a current person because I started with Person Marsteller myself a couple of years ago. Carl, your stage, please. Let us know about your wonderful campaign, please.
Good, thanks, Daniel. So, hello everybody. My name is Carl. I'm the MD of BCW Africa. I'm based in Johannesburg. We've just come out of load shedding, so I'm happy about that. But yeah, in Joburg, we serve as the hub market for our African network of partners and affiliates across 50 countries in Africa. So we're the go-to agency for anything on the continent. But just talking a little bit about Warner. So we've partnered with Warner for over 10 years now, and we're very fortunate to be involved in some incredible campaigns with them over the years, including the award-winning campaign that I'll talk to you now about, the Cartoon Network Climate Champions. So in 2021, the Cartoon Network launched a new climate change awareness initiative across the whole of EMEA. And the whole campaign was developed in collaboration with the global environmental organization called Climate Action Project. And it was also supported by organizations like the WWF, NASA, the United Nations, and the Jane Goodall Foundation as well. And at the heart of the African campaign was the Climate Champions microsite. And this microsite offered kids across Africa a safe place to learn about climate change and be inspired by other young change makers from around the continent and around the world as well to take positive action to tackle this big issue. And most importantly, the site gave kids the chance to make a difference themselves through daily challenges. And these challenges were designed to inspire, empower, and motivate them to make changes at home, at school, and in their local communities as well, and making a world of difference to the health of their planet. The next slide. So we all know climates and environmental hazards are having a devastating impact on the well-being and the future of our children. And the past 8 years have been the warmest since modern record keeping began. And atmospheric carbon dioxide levels are at the highest ever recorded. And we're facing multiple climate-related impacts such as severe drought and flooding, air pollution, water scarcity. And it's leaving our children very vulnerable to malnutrition and disease. And almost every child in Africa is exposed to at least one of these climate and environmental hazards. And without urgent action, children specifically are at an extremely high risk of the impacts of the climate crisis. On the next slide. So a big driver of our campaign in South Africa was the research element. And there were some remarkable insights from Cartoon Network survey conducted that revealed that 90% of South African kids actually see climate change as an important issue. 94 expressed negative feelings towards climate change, and many of them sharing that this topic really worries them, it saddens them, it scares them. And more than half of them feel that not enough is being done about climate change. The majority of kids as well, they also feel responsible for looking after the environment. And 78% are actively looking for opportunities to fight climate change. Then we have 90% who actually want to learn more about climate change, and 86% of them agreeing that they would like Cartoon Network to help them with this fight in climate change. And not surprisingly, 63% saw their moms as the biggest role model when it comes to fighting climate change. And some other interesting stats. So if you can go back one. So just some other interesting stats that I didn't include on this slide was that climate change literacy levels in Africa are actually around 37%, which is quite scary. But most Africans, around 71%, are cognizant of climate change and its effects, but only 51% are confident that their efforts to combat it can and will actually make a marked difference. So you can go to the next one. So in terms of the campaign goals, so Cartoon Network really wanted to be positioned as a channel that had its finger on the pulse of its African viewers' interests, They don't want to be just seen as this big global organization, but they really want to be tied into what's happening in Africa. They wanted to inspire kids to make a difference to the health of their planet. And it was all around informing and empowering and enabling them to act. And they wanted to drive as much traffic as possible to this microsite, this Africa-specific microsites as they could, and ultimately grow Cartoon Network's fan base in Africa across all of their social media platforms as well. So we had a number of PR tactics that we implemented, and I think what was the best part about this was the PR agency taking the forefront of the charge here and not letting the ad agency or kind of the bigger agencies run this, but we were the lead agency, and we ran a fully integrated campaign ranging from the kind of media release, the kind of normal standard stuff. We did an interactive trade mailer, which was really nice and included a promo video, including profiles of all the local change makers, all the kids that are doing good things in South Africa already. We hosted a virtual media press junket with 20 key influential media across Africa. So that was also really nice. And we had the senior people from Warner on the call, plus the WWF's Director of Education and Youth Engagement. We ran a number of media interviews with Warner spokespeople, the Climate Action Project spokesperson, and a lot of these African change makers themselves. And we ran a paid campaign as well. So one of our big mainstream publications in South Africa, The Citizen, we ran an online and digital campaign with them. And we also ran campaigns with more niche-focused kids publications, so Freefall School Newspaper and Minimags. And a really nice element as well was a partnership that we did with the D6 School Communicator mobile app. And that is how schools communicate with parents and scholars and teachers. And there's about 1 million people actually using that app. So it was a really nice way to reach the target audience. We did a school activation campaign as well. Sorry, I can go back on. So we did a school activation campaign as well, targeting around 250 schools across South Africa and really encouraging these kids to take up the challenges on the school section of the microsite. And we ran mall activations as well. So we've got some really big malls in South Africa, and South Africans love going to the mall. So it was important to have a physical element as part of the campaign. So we ran that in 3 mall activations just to drive more awareness. And then from a results perspective, so the client's target for us from a coverage perspective was 30 articles. We managed to get 62 in South Africa. And I see there are some South African colleagues on the call, and they'll know that that's really good for South Africa, as our media pool is quite small. So it was a really good result with over 90 million in reach. The school activation reached over 250 schools across South Africa, reaching over 150,000 learners. The mall activation, like I said, in the 3 of the malls. And one that the team was quite proud of was the number of challenges actually accepted by African kids. And that was 20% of the total of the whole of EMEA. So around 148,000 challenges accepted, which was the main part of this, was to get people to actually act. And yeah, the D6 School Communicator app, we had over 315,000 impressions, which was really great as well. And then, yeah, these next few slides just showcase some of the work that we did. And you can see here a lot of effort went into really creative, funky, cool designed elements that'll kind of appeal to kids and get them looking at wanting to read this, to get involved, to apply. So really kind of creative work that we did there from a strategic media partnership perspective. Then we had a bunch of YouTube interviews that we did with the champions themselves. So you can see kids ranging from kind of 10 to 14. So it's fantastic videos with them and them showcasing what they are doing to act from a climate change perspective. And yeah, just a little snapshot of the mall activations. So a big part of this being the physical presence as well, getting people to come in and join it. And yeah, so that was it. And I do have a little video that will show you a little bit more around this and give you a feel of these kids in action.
Lovely, Carl.
Basically, we try to make other people more aware of the problems we are facing.
Because you only have one Earth and one chance to get it right. Because at the moment, adults aren't really doing anything. So the youth and the kids have to do something.
care about the climate. They want to do something about it. They have a desire. So we have developed Cartoon Network Climate Champions to empower young audiences and to give them tools to join the fight against the climate change.
We're doing a marine cleanup here, and we found a lot of cigarettes and cigarette packets.
And as well as a lot of microplastics, which are probably the worst kind. Because they're really small, and sometimes you don't see it, which means you can't really pick it up.
And sometimes animals eat it, and then they die, and then all of the animals will die, and then there will be no more like ecosystems.
Cartoon Network is trying to get kids and children to be involved in protecting the environment.
Cartoon Network Climate Champions is about making the environment healthier, and I really like that it's making the planet a better place.
I think it's important to protect the Earth since Earth is our home. And if we do not protect the Earth, then we will put many lives at danger, including our own, and the whole ecosystem will be impacted. All the kids watching, I hope you can do something to protect the Earth, even if it's a small action.
Good. That's it.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you, Carl, for this wonderful campaign too. Really love how this campaign draws attention to those who are most vulnerable, but also making them those who can actually do something. So in that, it's a very beautiful example of how it's good to how you achieve really fantastic results if you switch the negative narrative from doom and gloom when everything goes down to actually what can we do, what can each of them do. And I mean, activating 148,000 kids, that surely is something, and it's definitely part of the job we as PR people have to do, translating the science into something that the audience understands and gets people to act. That's also a key theme of our recently published climate change communications guidelines. So thanks a lot for that. And with that, we turn to something that is also like the two ones before, a really, really beautiful example of just great communication work, great idea, beautifully executed. So Patricia, please let us see what you have for us.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you very much for this space of sharing. So I'm going to share with you the process, how we created, and the challenges we face developing this initiative, this campaign, which is called BR, and I will explain you later what's the meaning of BR, choosing tomorrow. So if we move to the next one. Okay, let's talk about the challenge. Okay, so first of all, I think it's important to understand the client. We work for BBK Foundation. Just for you to know, BBK is a bank from the north of Spain, and specifically the foundation has a focus on the development of the region. So it's a great work, but quite complicated to communicate. So we have a long relation with BBK Foundation, a successful relation with them for many years, and it's true that I would say that it's more than a relationship. I mean, we have this relationship based on confidence after many years working together. So what they ask us, or what the challenge they told us, it was quite clear. I mean, how can we make a wake-up call materializing how daily decisions will affect our future? So it sounds, I mean, it's quite clear, but also complicated. Or at least it was complicated at the beginning. So we try to understand what people thought about this. We try to think how to give this message, trying to engage, because that was exactly the big challenge, how to engage with this message. So, okay, we wanted we had to communicate this. We wanted to communicate in a positive way, and we had also to communicate this quite complicated concept, which is sustainable competitiveness. Okay, so this is the a quite complex and non easy to understand concept for the society, for regular people. So taking these two challenges that we had, if we move to the next one, thank you. We needed to understand the context. I mean, as you all know, and when we all know, we had to take into account that we live in an oversaturated context full of sustainability messages from brands, from organizations, from governments. I mean, we are a bit saturated of these kind of messages. So if we move to the next one, we can say that it was a quite challenging starting point for this initiative. We can move to more, please, because I think that, I mean, I already mentioned this one. Next one. So when we start working, we had to take decisions. We had to communicate this sustainable competitiveness with a context full of these kind of messages, and we needed to engage, and we needed to be relevant in a quite complex context. So the first decisions we take, it was to translate this concept into a daily and close concept for people. So how we change this to something that really impacts in your daily life. And we realize we try to understand I mean, how to impact and how to engage, understanding the feelings, the emotions we have related to the to the concept, to sustainability and all this concept. So we realize that 75% of young people they think that the future is frightening, and 56% even consider that humanity is already doomed. So taking this into account, discovering that this feeling was real, a real insight related about the fear and about the feeling that we have, we realized that there was already existed a naming, which is climate anxiety. And we said, okay, having these insights, having this concept that it exists, that is real. How can we impact society with this insight from young people, but translated to all the society? So if we move, thank you. Okay, second decision. How can we do it? And we move to the next one. Okay, let's do something real. Let's do something big. And let's make something able to make them see that the future is dawning. Okay, so that was let's say the idea or the strategy we decided to work on. So how we came up with this sculpture, with this idea to create VR, and I will explain you later what's VR. We work with Ruben Orozco, which is an artist, hyper-realistic artist, and we created this sculpture of a real girl, and this is important, named VR. And what does VR means? VR is in the Basque language, means tomorrow. So we started creating a person, a real person, whose name was Tomorrow, and she was going to represent all the story we wanted to tell. And if we move, thank you. So we installed this realistic sculpture in the river in Bilbao. I don't know if you know Bilbao, which is a big city from the north of Spain. And VR disappear and appear during high and low tides. So using the nature, we were able to make them feel this climate anxiety we were talking about, this part of the strategy. So we anticipated and invited top media to cover this. To put this girl in the river, and we start to create it an amazing impact on media, in national but also international, because the powerful of the image was, it was worldwide. You didn't need to understand anything, but just look at this girl in the river, and you understood everything. And this image made you feel things that we wanted people to feel, like this climate anxiety. So we didn't need to explain anything. That was the power of the image, the power of VR. While the whole world was on this piece, on the sculpture in the river, we launched a short film. If we move, this short film was started by VR. The girl who was in the river. If we move to the next one, please. Thank you. So this short film show us how the future can be if we don't act now. So it was a clear call to action to change things now, and that's why it was a positive message. We wanted to communicate to the people we can change things, but in the decisions we take every day. So thanks to the orchestration of the different phases, let's say at the beginning, just put this sculpture in the river, inviting all the media, and it was really important. Let's say that the image jumped from local to national to international. It was incredible. We will see in the video case. It was important to how we manage the different phases with media, and then with the content, as I told you, with this short film, with no investment in paid media, only with earned media, but a really, really important orchestrations with media, with the faces, and how we manage all these with different content. So we created this ecosystem, and these were the results. As you can see here, more than 300 social media impressions, more than 200 earned media impressions, more than 300 media impacts. We will see national, international, for sure, 100% positive sentiment, presence in 75 countries, and this was a really important result, because this helped BBK Foundation to open conversations with affairs and organizations locally, but also internationally. As this is the aim of the foundation, to have also these links with global organizations, and for sure more than 5 million value we get. And this is exactly what I was saying. This helped a lot for BBK Foundation to engage in affairs with national and international organization institutions, and we still receive a request from different organizations to have VR, because VR it already exists. To have VR as an icon of this climate anxiety, and as an icon of this narrative that BBK Foundation created with us. And we can see the case study.
That was lovely. Priscilla, we've got the video of that is just loading now.
Es la imagen que nos ha impactado a muchos ver.
La aparición de la cabeza gigante de una niña ahogándose en aguas de la ría.
Que da la impresión de que se está ahogando.
Una alegoría, una metáfora sobre cómo la sociedad puede hundir a nuestra juventud o también sacarla a flote.
How their actions can sink us or keep us afloat.
Nossas ações podem fazer a gente ou se afogar ou flutuar. Expectación para ver de cerca la cabeza en la ría.
Con centenares de curiosos agolpados en las barandillas de la ría.
Es tecnología, es una obra de ingeniería, pero al mismo tiempo es obra de arte.
We created a living, hyper-realistic sculpture, the first work created to sink or come afloat with every rising tide. A sculpture of beer, tomorrow in Basque, that served to grab people's attention and tell its own tale. A short film designed along with futurists and researchers that show the plausible consequences of our actions.
Impacto al sentimiento del ser humano.
Que sí, definitivamente es que cumplió su objetivo, llamar la atención.
Бильбао появление инсталляции вызвало смешанные.
क्या कनेक्शन है और ये मूर्ति भी पानी में क्यों रखी?
Todo forma parte de una campaña de la BBK.
Thanks to its reach, a Basque chose beer to represent climate anxiety at the COP. When everything was ready, nature reminded us why we were doing this.
Yeah. Thank you so much for this truly inspiring piece of work again. So like the other ones, really outstanding idea, execution, impact, just beautiful. And it shows the power of how to tell the story that we already know about in a new way that really gets to people, and how to use a key creative idea to really transport the message. Thank you very much, Patricia, for that. And looking at the time, I will just ask you one double question, and I think then we better open up the floor to those listening in here. What I'd like to know from you, and maybe we can just start with Lauren, Patricia, then Carl. How did you come up with the idea, and what was the big challenge in implementing that? Lauren, if you want to start.
Yeah, so I mean, I think compared to the others, ours was a little bit more straightforward and direct in looking at what the real climate change issue was and going towards educating about it. In the end of the day, the client we were working with did provide a great solution, but I think the real value was raising the issue, because as much as the solution could help retailers, could help grocery stores, it's important for consumers and just everyone to also think about the issue and be aware of the problem, which is the only way that it's going to lead to true impact.
Yeah, Patricia?
Sure. So how we? I mean, I think I think I explained more or less how we came up with the idea, but we truly think that when we dig into emotions, we really get to engage this way. And as you said, Daniel, and I totally agree. I mean, we need to find ways to narrative and to explain these concepts that we have listened many times in a different way, if we want to really impact and engage. And about the difficulties we found, we found a lot, as you can imagine, since we put a big head in a river, so it was quite complicated, but quite exciting also, since when we really found this from Ophelia, the picture, we thought about this emotion you have when you see at this art. This is what we wanted to take to reality, and but then everything was great, and we didn't know what was going to happen, but as you see, it was totally successful.
Yeah, wonderful. And Carl, what about you? How did you came up with that idea, and what was really hard when you implemented that? It's a big thing as well.
Yeah, so we didn't actually come up with the idea because it was an EMEA-led campaign. But what we did do is very much bring in the African research that we have to make it localized for South Africa and Africa. But we didn't find too many challenges. I think the kids were very keen to get involved. Everyone was really excited to be part of this. Maybe the biggest challenge was maybe a logistical one, was the fact that that video shoot that we did, we would have all set it up to be done at Robben Island, which is just off the coast of Cape Town, where Nelson Mandela was in prison for many years. And 2 days before the full shoot, we were informed by the local government that we weren't permitted to shoot there anymore. So we had to change everything at the last minute, flights, videographers, photographers, kids from all the schools, all of that, and then rearranging it to be shot at Muizenberg Beach. But yeah, I mean, it still looked really great in the end product, and no one will know the drama that went on behind the scenes. But yeah, for the most part, it was an easy campaign.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it is. If something resonates, then it's not work, but it actually, of course it's work, but it's work that works in a literal way. And yeah, just to warn you, so at the end, when we leave this session, I will ask you again what kind of your key recommendation from all the three of you would be for PR and practitioners to make an impact with their communication. But I think before we end on those recommendation tones, we should turn to the chat and the questions. And Philip, do you want to take us through what people want to know?
Daniel, I will do indeed. Perhaps what I'll do is put together a couple of questions on the chat and one of my own, and make it something that actually all three of you, if you could, would answer that, and that's about transferability. We have one question there asking about doing something similar in Ghana. Maybe Carl, you could comment on the reach of Cartoon Network in Africa in general. And Patricia mentioned that there was interest about the concept of Bihar. I wondered if she's gone elsewhere, or there are plans for her to be seen in other rivers. And also for Lauren, you were telling us that the test was done by with the supermarket chain Metro, but in Poland, which is a secondary market for Metro being a German origin supermarket. And I wonder also if there are plans for that project to roll out in other supermarkets. So perhaps in that order, Carl, if you want to kick off with my question.
Yeah, sure. So Cartoon Network in Africa, South Africa, as far as I know, South Africa, Kenya, Nigeria are the main markets, with Ghana as well. So those are generally the four main markets that they do look at, or kind of most clients look at when they're looking at Africa. But this was an Africa-wide campaign, but led very much through South Africa. But they did have representation on the virtual press junket that we did from, I think it was Nigeria, Kenya, and Ghana, actually. So that was kind of the breadth of how it spread across Africa, but the main focus was South Africa, just for this initiative. I don't know if that answers it.
Yeah, sure. Thanks.
If you want, I can answer.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, we have had, well, as you could see in the video, the big head was broken because of a storm. So last year, I mean, we were creating a new one, and it came at the end of the year to Spain, because I mean, it came by ship. So we couldn't put again the head in other places, but yeah, we are talking with many organizations here in Spain by now to have it as another icon, as I said.
Yeah. Okay. Super. Thank you, Lauren.
Yeah. And so our campaign, this one focused on a specific test in Poland, but it definitely is available in other markets, and I think it works well around the world. I think the next step, which would be really interesting for our campaign and what we're talking about, is really to understand how it varies across the world, because I think the US market is very different than Europe, even though there is the same inherent problem. People see it different ways. The grocery stores are set up differently. So it would be really interesting to dig deeper into the variation and kind of seeing the differences between different cultures and communities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, lovely. Thank you for that. So a question also directed to Patricia from Rossio, who I think is based in Australia. and she's saying that Rostio is saying that the campaign was so powerful with the face of Bihar and all that. How did you manage to keep attention also on the bank itself, being your client for that campaign?
Yeah. So we, as I said, we created the different phases of the campaign. So first of all, there was no brand; it wasn't unbranded. To have all these awareness and all these impact we wanted, and then we revealed that BBK was behind, BBK Foundation was behind this initiative, and then we had, already created all a narrative linking obviously the icon, the BR, but with BBK Foundation and all the stuff they wanted to share, because they had a lot of initiatives that they are not able to communicate in a, let's say, regular way. That's why they ask us to how can we share with Basque Country and nationwide also all the initiatives that BBK Foundation is doing, and this is the way we did it. So we manage all the time how BBK, the role of BBK in each phase, and the impact was there, and we did a pre and post test, and the impact on the brand was huge.
Excellent, thank you. So we have a brave Jacqueline Purcell, who is one of the IPRA board members, who has raised her hand and asked to pose a question live to you. So Jacqueline, if you can hear me, please go ahead.
Yes, hi Philip. I hope you can all hear me. I thought this was absolutely a brilliant, short, insightful, and very valuable seminar. I just wanted to add something, because it was really the most significant thing that happened to me was hearing the authors of 6 Degrees share that if you say the planet's going to go up 6 degrees, people think, oh, well, that's fine. I'll just put on an extra jacket. And so the concept of something going up 6 or 5 degrees, people relate to their everyday life, not necessarily to the planetary influences of 6 degrees. And I haven't yet seen anyone really make more of that. Show how that 6 degrees is not just the case of wearing a hat and a coat because things are too hot, or taking off the hat and the coat if things are too cold. So 6 degrees planetary wise is very, very significant. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you really very much for that, I would say, also for the saying that, because it's really clear. Yes, I mean, we do have the science. It's there. It's unequivocal. And we also have a big range of solutions, of stuff that we can actually do. And we have to, and that's what has been shown in the IPCC report again, we have to quickly turn them into action. And there, obviously, communications has a really, really big role to play. And what you have seen with these really beautiful, world-leading, effective and creative campaigns is that we communicators and PR as an industry, as in general, we have a role. We have a role to play in this, and we have the power and the possibilities. And with power, of course, also comes responsibility. Let's assume that, and let's continue the discussion. Join the discussion at IPRA. Spread the word. Get your peers to submit their fantastic climate change-related PR work in our award and with other awards, because we can do something. We can inspire, and we can hopefully make the world a better place than it would be without us. With that, let's maybe the three of you, Patricia, Carl, Lauren, if you have one last thing you want to give as a recommendation to those watching, to people in PR, maybe just Patricia, Lauren, Carl, please say what you would give as recommendation at the end.
Yeah, I can go first. So I think, Daniel, you said it best, that we all have a responsibility, especially in the roles that we play. So I think it's really important for us individually just to always be doing our own due diligence and really being authentic, because There are many other ways that this can come across, and people talk about buzzwords all the time. So it's really important for us to all just be educated individuals and really taking true authenticity through everything we do.
Yep, and maybe to build on what Lauren is saying. So I think for me, it's very much starts with you. It starts with yourself. So being conscious of your immediate impact. As a business, looking how you're purchasing sustainably. For example, we do a lot of media drops in South Africa, so we're always trying to source products that are made from recycled materials, doing Teams meetings instead of flying, traveling, all of that, thinking twice before you print something. So for me, it starts with you as an individual, the small little things, and you can gradually make a big difference.
And just to add what Lauren and Carl said, I think that we have a power. That's true. I mean, we have, as we work in this industry, we have the power to impact in people, but also in companies, in brands. So we have to use it to try to do something, no? Not only in our daily basis, as they said, but also as professionals. I think that we have to believe that we have the power to impact on people.
Super. Well, folks, thank you very much indeed for that. That's been a brilliant webinar. I think it's also shown, I think, one of the things that we always find from when we are involved in judging the Golden World Awards campaign, in that you learn so much from others when you see the creativity of others. And I think it was a super example that we're able to showcase 3 of the most creative campaigns that we had from last year's GWA. So my thank you once again to Patricia, to Carl, and to Lauren, and of course to Daniel also for helping to moderate the session today. Next month, we're a week earlier than usual. We're the first Thursday, not the second Thursday of the month, and that's the 4th of May. At a slightly later time. I'll be starting at starting at 12 o'clock CET. Anyway, the details will be out on our mailing list on that. So once again, everybody, thank you so much, and we will end today's webinar. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.